Hello, everyone, and welcome to the webcast. This is our second annual State of the Industry webcast. My name is Paul Ragusa. I'm the editor for Locksmith Ledger. Really excited about this one. And before I get to introduce our incredible panel that we have here, I did want to thank our sponsors. As you can see there, we've got some great sponsors. Let me introduce this incredible panel that we have here. Let me just start here with Wayne. Wayne Winton. He is the owner of Tri-County Locksmith Services, and he's also an industry expert in locksmithing and education. Tri-County Locksmith Services is a thriving business. He has successfully operated for over a decade. Our next speaker we have is Glenn Younger, owner of Grah Safe and Lock. Last but not least, Chad Lingafelt, managing partner of Loc-Doc Security. So we have a really incredible group here, obviously. So thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. Let me jump to the first question here. We have, and I want to start by looking at technology and product trends. Now, we can talk about a lot of stuff here: smart locks, biometrics, mobile access. So I want to also put this up here because I know we're going to get into electronic access control in our State of the Industry report. You'll see we noted that Locksmiths noted that 28% of electronics will be a major driver in their product portfolio, and nearly 56% use it to complement their existing portfolio. So let me start with you, Wayne, on this question. There's a lot to tackle here, but what are you seeing? Obviously, electronic access control is kind of the big topic here, but let's start there and then kind of go from there.
Absolutely. Thank you. And thank you for the wonderful introduction. I'm just happy to be here and happy to share some knowledge. And I hope this really helps a lot of people out with their businesses and where they want to go in the direction of 2025. This is the year of biometrics. I have been hesitant to really kind of recommend like facial recognition or fingerprint biometric locks, but I definitely think that we're on point to where it's ready. It's really ready. It's really working very well. It's ready in the residential market as well, and it's ready in the commercial aspect as well. So I really see things headed that direction. Anything that you can do with your smartphone, obviously, is what people want. They want control. They want to be able to see what they have. They want to be able to see who's coming and going. Everybody wants control over their security, and the products are now finally matching that, and it's finally really ready to just unleash and really just bring this into your marketplace, bring it into your business, embrace it. You're going to make way more money working on installing and selling access control than you are going to rekeying mechanical locks. And that's not to say to not do it, but people kind of shy away from it because they're like, well, maybe I won't get that business anymore. I can tell you that it actually quadruples your business because you make more on that initial sale. Instead of a $35 rekey, I'm installing a $500 electronic access lock that probably cost me $135. So you can do the math there. In integrating smart home technology, integrating alarm systems, the locksmith industry let this go back in the 80s, 70s, and 80s, and we really should have grabbed a hold of it and really harnessed it. And unfortunately, it got let go from this industry, and now there's a whole separate industry on that, but it's our time to be able to take it back as well. So I think alarm panels, things that can control light switches, full smart home automation is really where everything is at this year, and the market is ready for it. Who can bring that in a detailed way, who can explain it, who can sell it, and who can market it and explain it in simple terms is going to win the race in this one.
It's wild. I just listening to that part of the conversation, I always go back to this right here. For the past 3 years, this is my only credential to get into my home, to drive my car, to get into my business. And now that may be an extreme scenario, but I have not carried a physical key for my vehicle or my business or my home in over 3 years. And I think the biggest aspect of that is you're really thinking around it is diversification. So when you're talking about access control, it sounds shiny and fresh and new. And we could talk about biometrics and facial recognition, all those things. But as a business, if you're thinking in terms of, we were talking about this before we went on air about they've been saying for years that the mechanical key is going away, but it hasn't, because the industry hasn't forced that adoption yet. It hasn't forced that. But I do believe that you're starting to see some major trends shifting. And if your business is not diversified in the offerings, so electronic access control, door hardware, keys, locks, if you're strictly automotive and you just live in that world, I just spoke within the last 12 months to a business that that is primarily automotive in our market. And they had a great client who delivers packages very fast to your home. And they spend a majority of their time making keys for those delivery vans. Well, they all of a sudden started seeing electric vehicle chargers start to pop up in the parking lot while they were making those keys. And then all of a sudden, their contract was gone like that because the drivers no longer needed keys for the vans because they all utilized the mobile device to get in there. And so a big part of his business is now disrupted. What is he going to replace that with? How is he going to stay diversified in that in the market? And so that's a big factor of access control. How do you start to weave that in as part of it? It can be profitable for sure. There can be some recurring revenue associated with it as well. But really, you have to think through diversification. Can I service the entire opening, or am I just servicing one element of it? If you're only servicing one element, then you have backed yourself into a corner where you potentially could fall prey to those changes in the marketplace. Glenn, what are your thoughts?
I think you both make great points, and the concept of smart locks, part of smart locks is the lock part of it, which is it's still a physical device that holds the door shut. So that, and then that leads me to sort of the key bypass, the idea of having really terrific, outstanding access control. We have a client called Salk Institute, and they put this amazing access control system in, but they still had their original key system. And they kept having problems because people were always getting these forced door alarms. People were using keys instead of their entire access control. They had put 1,500 doors. It was a massive access control system that was rendered useless because they didn't take care of the back end key bypass. And so we literally had to go in there to do all of that. And so that there's still a physical function to, keeping the car from starting or the door from opening or whatever. We just need to make sure that we're taking care of that. So access control, there's oftentimes a key bypass involved. If that key isn't controlled in some way, that is a way wide open potential problem. I think the recurring revenue is kind of a new topic for many in the locksmith industry, and I think there's different ways to do it. We're sort of in the break fix model. Most locksmiths start off as a service break fix as opposed to a project installation. And once you get into more project installation, RMR starts to make more sense. But in addition to the traditional RMR, I think there's some other ways to do that. And anyway, to help locksmiths get their cost out of people's emergency budget and into an annual operating budget. And I think that's an RMR opportunity. The licensing and monitoring, I think that will grow. I don't know that that's a big shift because a lot of people are still in the break fix service, reactive service mode. And the RMR can work in there. There's ways to do service contracts that will do that. But RMR is an interesting topic, and I'm anxious to see how it evolves.
Yeah, and Wayne or Chad, Wayne, I'll go to you first. Your thoughts on RMR or recurring revenue? Is this a potential area for locksmiths or too early?
Oh, it absolutely is. It absolutely is. Just like I was saying before, that we're taking that alarm and monitoring systems back. That's a great way to start with RMR. There's a million different companies out there that you can work with. I mean, alarm.com, Alula. You can You don't even have to. I work with a company, Halo Pulsar. They don't even, I don't have to run any wires. And everybody gets so scared of running wires or having to do this. Everything is wireless. And literally, all I have to do is leave a card and they purchase it through that link. And I don't have to touch anything. It drop ships to them. And I still get that RMR based off of that. Every single system that gets sold, I get a piece of the original sale and the monthly subscription for that. And then they add cameras and all of these other things to it. And pretty soon now you have, $1,000, $2,000, $5,000, $10,000 a month coming in. That's just an annual stream. And you pair that with your service contracts. You pair that with, Lockly also has a systems or an operating system on the back end that you can schedule their locks for like multifamily units and things like that. You basically sell it as a product. So if it costs $30 a year or $100 a year to run that system, I charge my customer 100% markup and charge $200 a year, and they get to use that each year. They can pick a 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, 10 year package, and you're basically turning a service back into a product and making money on it every single year. And they already have the product installed. They're not going to go spend thousands and thousands of dollars to install new locks on that system. They're going to keep paying for the system that they already have. And if you don't have RMR or monthly recurring revenue, you don't have much to sell when you go to sell your business. So people really need to keep that in mind. If you can show a nice monthly check that just comes in, either through service contracts, through customers that you have, or through the alarm monitoring, or through the access control systems that you provide, then you've got something tangible that people want, and your investors will really see that as a shining star.
Yeah, great point. And we'll get more into the business side of locksmithing. That's the topic we're going to cover. Chad, did you want to add anything else on the RMR side, recurring rev?
Yeah, I think the big thing that I would underline there, Wayne kind of hit on it, contracts are huge when you're talking, and mergers and acquisition companies have been stating this out for years. If you want to go sell your business on exit strategy, the best way to get a higher multiple is to have contracts, and our industry lacks that. So that's a big fact. I would also look at it from a percentage standpoint. When I start to look at my functional business, no matter what the size is, what is the percentage that I would like to cover with recurring monthly revenue? I think a really strong number is 25% of your annual revenue would be covered under recurring. Now, you have to start somewhere to get there. We currently sit at about 14% of our annual revenue is through recurring. So as to say, for every $100 that we generate, 14 of it is already recurring, and we don't have to work harder for that. So as a industry that relies on turning a wrench to generate revenue, any way that you can look at your business model to find an opportunity to generate revenue while you're sleeping is a great path for long-term success and scalability, because at times you may want to take a vacation. You may want to allow your employees to take vacations. And so having that standard recurring revenue is going to be one element to allow you to get to that point.
Yeah, and I love that you actually put a number on it, because, I mean, you have to start somewhere. I'm sure you started with 2%. Yeah, you have to start somewhere. So, you're getting to a really nice number now, and that is nothing to, that's really impressive. So let's move on to the next question. Glenn, I want to go to you on this one. I know we had a good webcast on multifamily, and I know you had I was hoping to get you on that one. We couldn't get you on that one, but let's talk verticals. A lot of these verticals are using a lot of the technology that we're talking about. And I'm going to actually go to this slide that you provided. Whenever you want to get to it, this is a really interesting slide we could talk about as well. But yeah.
To answer that, Paul, I'd like to just take a step back, which is you remind that we're sort of in a reactive break-fix business model. Almost everybody you talk to starts there. It's pretty normal. But when we're talking growth verticals, we're really talking about focusing on a certain kind of customer. And for us, that's always been B2B for sure. Why? Because they're repeat, reliable customers. We can pound on paying. I can advertise, I can market, and once I get them, if we turn them into a repetitive customer with a contract or an RMR type customer, then we can really do something. So Obviously, multifamily is, everybody's been talking about it. Here's the challenge with that is, how hard is it to break into a new vertical if you're not there? And so this degree of difficulty thing kind of says, your existing customers, when you're working on something that they know and you already know, and they know that you know it, and you suggest something, it's real easy to get them to do something else. You can make a recommendation. If it's a new solution, so something that you've really not that experienced in, and if it's a customer you've only been rekeying locks for, and now you're asking them to install video, that may be a bit harder. It's going to be probably on the, they've done studies on this, it's about 5 times harder to get that sale. And about 50% of the time will you actually get it. And so this degree of difficulty is just to show that the place to start is where you're at. And so look at your customer base now. And do you have multifamily now? Do you have healthcare customers now? Do you have schools or government or commercial property management customers now? Expanding on those is far easier. I used to work with a guy that said that if you find a lazy person to do the job, they'll find the easy way to do it. So the easy way to grow in these different verticals is start with customers you already know, that already know you. The hardest sale that we can make as an industry is a new solution that we don't know very well to a new customer that we don't know very well. That's super hard. And the success rate of pitching that is 5% if you're really good. And so with the consolidation in our industry of fewer manufacturers, the consolidation in our customers, fewer big commercial property managers, it's going to be important for you to get a customer and then grow that customer into the other things you want to do. So the real question I hear you asking is like, where do we want to grow? And I would suggest let's grow where you're not bumping into larger and better financed customers. And so we don't try to compete with Convergent or a Siemens or a large system integrator, because they're larger, better financed than we are. So let's leverage the customers we've got first. And so this is the old, new to new scale is what we call it here. Like, okay, we're totally in the new area here. This is going to be much harder. But if you were as a locksmith, if you were to take your top 5 markets and or top 5 customers, top 100 customers, and say, what markets are we in? Pick 4 or 5. Don't pick 50. Pick 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. And then if you're already doing a hospital, say, is there another hospital in my area, in my geography? If you're already doing a utility or a school, is there another government agency like this one? And that's probably going to be our most successful area. If we can focus on places where we've already got a toehold, so that we're not trying to break into, if you've never done a hospital and you want to start doing that hospitals, that's a challenge and it's going to be hard. I'm suggesting do the easy thing, and then you might have 5 prospective areas that you want to go to, but grow the easy way. Start with people that you already know if you can. And I think that's the short version. But obviously, schools, prisons, hospitals, institutions have been places that we've really focused on. We focus also on places that are recession-proof or more recession-proof. Every time we change administrations politically, we run a risk of having a recession in the next 4 years. And it's like when we have one, I want to be ready the next time we have a COVID or we have a 2008, 2010 meltdown. And so I want to have customers that don't do that. And occasionally we get manufacturers who are promoting a product into an area that's going to fall apart. Multifamily housing is an area that doesn't look like it's falling apart. For the first time ever, there's more apartments than there are single family houses in America. So this is in America. So, okay, that's a shift from 20 years ago. So multifamily housing is growing. It's using a lot of the technology we've already talked about. Smart locks. It looks like it's here. It's for real. You may want to stay with that. But if it could be the coolest lock in the world, and if they're selling it to an industry that is going away, this is only for brick and mortar clothing stores. That may not be a great way to spend your time. That's just a thought.
Yeah, I think if you talk to any manufacturer right now, the sexy market is multifamily. Anybody that you talk to, that's the first thing that comes out of their mouth. Yep. And while there is a lot of products being created for that, and a lot of promotion that's happening in it, and it is a booming vertical, the challenge is, just like any of the sage advice that Uncle Glenn just gave you, is understanding what you are, what you're good at, what you're comfortable with, where you have your established relationships that are scalable, and then run hard after that. A lot of times, entrepreneurial types like to run after the shiny new, and so we'll spread ourselves and diversify ourselves too thin, that we're not doing anything great. We're doing a lot of things, but nothing great. And then we start to have a challenge. So, the question of the growth in vertical markets, the growth in vertical market can happen whatever market that you put your effort towards, if you already have good and established relationships there. It's pretty simple. Show up when you say you're going to show up, give people a price that's fair and honest, and do the work that you say you're going to do. If you can do that, simple term, you can grow any market. But we get too complicated at times when we spread ourselves too thin, or we go too far into the shiny new, that we become challenged in our growth aspect. So multifamily obviously is hot, and in your market, they're probably building a lot of it. Is, as a company, how you need to look at it from a holistic standpoint. There is a lot of opportunity there. In the new construction world, you need to make sure you have capital to fund it, and you need to make sure that you have the project management to be able to implement. But there's tons of retrofit out there in multifamily of units that have been built over the past 5 years that are in dire and desperate need of an upgrade, and they have dollars to spend. So that is one. It does require work. It's not an easy thing that's going to fall in your lap, but there's that opportunity there. Healthcare, schools, government, all these other, I think advice is positive, right? Retail would be a big question mark. I don't know that I would saturate myself too much into retail. Not to say that it's absolutely going away, but you can see the trends. It's not on the steady growth perspective. It's on a slow decline, not on a steep drop off. So I'd be cautious of those. But then healthcare and schools are not going anywhere. Government is not going anywhere. So those are staples inside of our economic infrastructure. Pouring effort into those is definitely a way to grow.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. And, I'll kind of keep this a little short here because we've got quite a few questions to go through. But just to reflect on what both Glenn and Chad said, that they're spot on, right on point. I mean, I think the guys that are really devoted to the automotive industry are going to be disrupted in the next 5 to 10 years. I think everything's going to a phone or a face or biometrics in that department and aspect as well. So I would really start to think about diversifying and getting in those electronic access fields and getting more into that, something with a physical location. I know that people need a place to live, no matter what the economy is doing. People need somewhere to live. They need multifamily units. People are moving into more apartment style complexes. Those are the places that I need to focus. And that's what my big focus for 2025 is I'm going to provide lunch and learns for a lot of the property managers that we service, and show them the new things that we can actually do, and actually bring them lunch, offer something, bring something to the table, quite literally, and do a lunch and learn with the top tier executive decision makers, not the lower level people down below, but those big bangers at top. And those are the people that write the checks. And those are the checks that get written for $20, $30, $40, $50, $60,000 to do a multifamily living unit. And if I tell them I can get your entire complex under control with standalone access that gets installed in the current deadbolt hole that you already have, and you can maintain that system as a hive and give the individual the ability to control that lock as well, and you can do it all from a computer program, all of a sudden they understand it, they know the problems they have, they're trying to fix those problems. You brought them a solution, they're going to go with you. And to what Glenn said, think about anybody that you use as a contractor right now, like your mechanic. If your mechanic that you take your vehicle to suggests that you get a transmission change, you probably take them up on that because you trust them. You have that same trust with your customers existing right now. So when I call up my customers and say, hey, these are the new products that we have to offer. These are the things that I think would really help solve a lot of problems in your business and save you time and money with dealing with your clients. You don't have to send a property manager out to that location with a key at 2 a.m. That's going to help solve their problem. That's going to help save money. And if you can save time and money, they will invest with you.
Yeah, great points. Thank you, Wayne. Everybody, let's move on to the next question. Purchasing and staying on top of the latest products and relationship with distributors, manufacturers, and the reps. Um, this is a part of the business that's not really spoken about too much. Glenn, I know we had a good conversation about this. As kind of leading up to this, I'll start with you on this one. Building those relationships, which can be a little complex, but it is important.
What we're really talking about is the rise of the vertical specific business development rep, often funded by a distributor, manufacturer, or even a manufacturer's rep group. With the amount of consolidation that we're having in the lock world, the locksmith specific world, with the big three. There used to be a lot more independent reps than there are now. Now there's still independent reps. Every area has got one or two that are terrific, that are great independent reps. But each of the big three have now sales staffs far bigger than they used to, and they've got vertical specific user reps that are calling on. They're calling on multifamily housing. They're calling on hospitals. They're calling on, and they're getting quite specific. They're calling on just end users. So in our area, in some of the brands, they have, each of the brands has end user only. And that's all they do is call on schools. So if I'm trying to expand into the school area, I need to make sure that I'm on their team or they're on my team, that we're working together, because they're calling on the school suggesting that they need open closed indicators for active shooter lockdown situations. So the need for allies in our business is huge. And it's greater when you're trying to scale your business, because you really can't do it alone. If you have an unlimited budget, you could hire lots of people and do that, but you can go a lot farther if you're doing it with a group. It's the old saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with a group. Use that fact that manufacturers have business development people in the field on focused products and on focused verticals, and get to know them. If you have clients that are going to benefit from that, bring them into your client. So multifamily housing, our first multifamily housing jobs was an existing client that we had a great relationship with. We reached out, took the multifamily housing rep, introduced them, and said, they've got a solution we think will work for you. So they were riding on the coattails of a goodwill that we had built up. We did that project. We did 3 10-story buildings. It was a wonderful project. And that manufacturer uses that model to say, here's how you work with a dealer. Reps can become your unpaid salespeople, is the point I'm trying to make. If you want to expand your sales force, the fastest, easiest, cheapest way for you to do it is to become an ally with your manufacturer's reps, especially those who are growing in verticals that you would like to grow.
I agree, 1,000%. And to expand on that, you have to think about this. If you want to make it in business, you have to think like the people you're in business with, right? So if I have a product, if I'm a manufacturer, if I'm a Legion, if I'm a Asa Abloy, if I'm a Lockley, if I'm any of these manufacturers, I can have the best product in the world. I can have the most durable product in the world. I can have the most convenient product in the world. And if it's not installed properly, it will not last, it will not perform, and your customer will not be happy with that. If I can prove to the manufacturer and to the distributors and to the end users that we are the best solution and I can install these locks better, faster, and more accurately than anybody else in my area, they're going to bring that business to me. An example of that is we did the Aspen High School, Middle School, and Elementary School all in one. These schools are great projects because they're not rebuilding the whole school with new wiring everywhere. So we have to do retrofits. We have to do standalone retrofits. On the main doors, we can do some hardwired access, but for every individual classroom, that's unreasonable at this point in time because they were built in a time when they didn't bring low voltage to every single opening like they do now. the way that we got that project is the locks were late. They had a very limited time as to when they could do this. And a big company actually came to us and said, "Hey, we saw you online. We know that you're working with these people." The manufacturer actually gave them our contact information. They said, "Here's the project. Can you do this?" Everybody else told them no. We told them, yes, we can knock it out of the park. And, that was tens of thousands of dollars. That was a project that just landed in our lap because we invest in the proper jigs. We invest in the proper products. We take our time and we install the product exactly to the manufacturer's specifications. And they recognize that and bring the business directly to us. That's how you land the big projects.
Yeah, I think the theme that you just heard there is partnership with manufacturers and distributors. They're out there pushing and driving. That's what they are motivated to do. That's what they're incentivized to do, is to create those relationships and those opportunities. As an installer, as a dealer, I think for years we have taken an interesting perspective with manufacturers and wholesalers that we are God's gift to them, and that they need us, or there are a individual that we can beat up on and try to get a better price from them or challenge them or whatever. And I really believe that if, as an industry, we can start to shift our perspective slightly, maybe a lot, on the fact of pitching our businesses as a service provider to those manufacturers and wholesalers as value adds. What are the things that we do differently? What are the ways that we can provide a better solution or a better end result to that customer if we partner with them? So my pitch has been for quite a number of years. How do we shift our perspective as business owners, as the locksmith industry, to think more strategically with those partners, manufacturers and wholesalers, of how we can start to offer our businesses to them just like we would if we were trying to pitch to a customer? And if we can do that, it will start to establish that partnership that Glenn just talked about, the partnership that Wayne just talked about. We've found a way to provide value. We have now shown them that value. Why would they not want to work with us to make sure that at the end of the day, the customer is happy, the end user is happy? We have moved well past the theory that anybody owns a particular customer. Nobody owns that end customer. That end customer has autonomy to make the decisions that they need to do. But as wholesalers, manufacturers, and dealers and installers, we should be able to work seamlessly together to ultimately to provide a really solid solution to an end user, to where they are happy and they are now becoming fans of that product and of that company, and they're promoting it for us.
Here, here.
Yeah, great points, guys. Chad, I'm going to stay with you on this next question, and I this slide that's been up here is just from our latest State of the Industry report from last year. A lot of the stuff that we're talking about is in there, but let's look at something that's kind of the underlying topic for this whole webcast, and we are going to actually have a webcast on later in the year on this very topic, where I'm hoping to get the same group together to really dive even deeper. But Chad, something that you and Wayne and Glenn even are really good at is promoting, growing your business. And this could be marketing, social, but also making sure you're in the right Google search and things simple as that. Let's kind of dive into this topic. It's a big one, obviously, but Chad, let's talk a little bit about the business of kind of branding. Branding yourself, essentially, right?
For sure, yeah. There's a lot to unpack there, and so I'll try to be as brief as possible and focus really specifically on the marketing side, and obviously branding, all that stuff. There's a lot to unpack there, but the marketing side of your business, I think, has shifted a lot, and I may just repeat some of the things I just said about trying to show value to the manufacturers and wholesalers so that they would want to work with us. It's no different to that end user or that customer that you're trying to market yourself towards. Gone are the days where we can show up and throw up and tell them everything that we can do and how great we are and how amazing that we are as an individual and as a company and all of those things. At the end of the day, customers make decisions based off of solving a pain point. So how quickly can you figure out what that customer's pain point is? When they contact you, their door doesn't work, their key doesn't work, their lock isn't working, they can't get where they need to go, or they can't keep people out of where they're not supposed to go, right? It's pretty basic and simple. And I always laugh because this is one of the examples that I use a lot. Is if you go on any type of marketing for a locksmith company, you're going to see pictures of locks. Maybe you might see a picture of a door closer. You might see a picture of some really interesting piece of hardware. And in the industry, we're all super excited about it. Man, look at that cool door closer. Look at that cool continuous hinge. The customer has no freaking clue what that is. They just know my door either is not letting people in or my door is not keeping people out. Okay, so what's the simple pain point that the customer is having? And then how you can help ease that pain point really is the basics of marketing. Understand the pain point. How can I help get them from pain point to getting out of that, and then simplify it? The biggest piece of advice that I learned years ago, and it broke my brain when I first heard it, but it has transformed the way that we communicate with our customers and the way that we are trying to market our business. We operate on a scale of 1 to 10. This is called the curse of knowledge. And as industry experts, we talk and communicate, and you just heard a lot of it even on the last 40 minutes of this conversation. We talk at a level 9, 10, somewhere in that range. When we're talking about RMR and we're talking about biometrics and facial recognition, all these, that is talking high level knowledge. A customer, the general consumer, buys at a level 1 or a 2. And the big key factor of all this is when we do our best to simplify it, and we're like, man, we're going to really break this down, we typically land at about a 5 or a 6. So we're still shooting over the heads of our target audience. So it's taking that and going way back down. We, utilize the topic or the term like a sniff test or a grunt test. Can you take your messaging, go up to somebody in a coffee shop, go up to somebody in a restaurant, and give them that pitch? Can anybody understand what you're saying and digest it? If they can, then you're able to hit that target market. If you confuse them and they just nod their head and walk away, then you're probably confusing your audience and your consumer as well. So when it comes to marketing, how do you simplify? How do you break down the messaging so that it really hits their pain point and doesn't talk on the knowledge level and over explain what you know and get really down to the problem that they possess?
Yeah, that's fantastic. I'm going to expand off of that, Chad, and very, very well explained. If you can't explain it to a 10-year-old, then you're not explaining it in terms that people can really understand. He's exactly right. If you've got a problem, I've got a solution. If you can make it easy, if you can make it easy to digest, if you can make it understandable, and you can make it easy for the customer to understand, you have the sale in the bag. As far as marketing goes, I really think that now more than ever is the time to get on social media and the time to really start branching out. You can film your own ads. You could have a professional company do it, or you can film your own, however you want to do it. Think about this before. If you wanted to get a commercial on mainstream TV on any of the big networks, it would cost you, $10,000 to film an ad. And then it would cost you thousands and thousands of dollars to get on that TV channel for a certain amount of time. You're talking about massive, massive investments that only a huge company would be able to make. Nowadays, you can do this on your phone. You can do it by yourself. You can do it in a 30-second post, and you can actually boost that post through Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all these other ones. All the ads that you see when you're scrolling through on your phone, those are other businesses that are paying pennies on the dollar to get in front of your eyeballs, and you have the ability to harness that power to get in front of those same eyeballs. What if I told you that 10 years ago, you could get on ABC, Fox, and NBC and get your business and your product out there with your solution on all those platforms for a few $100s a month? That would be insane. It would break people's brain. You have the ability to do that now. It's mostly about Google, but if you start diversifying now, you can Google proof your business. I did a whole keynote presentation on this for Popalock, where if you have those surface contracts in place, if you have that RMR, if you have Facebook ads running, if you have TikTok ads running and Instagram ads running, then all of your eggs are not in that proverbial Google basket, and you're very well diversified. And if your listing drops, because that is a big thing that is happening right now, the locksmith industry is under assault from Google right now. They are taking ads, or they're taking listings down left and right over tiny, tiny little infractions because of the problems with the scammers. So anybody can lose their Google business listing overnight. If you are not prepared for that and can survive that, you are not prepared to be in business in 2025.
Yeah, that's a great point, Wayne. I've been seeing those stories about the Google issue. It's good you brought that up. Glenn, I'm going to go to this slide that you sent me. This is definitely get it, a good laugh. But let me this one here, because this kind of goes with the next question. But I'll let you first comment on this one here, the business side of locksmithing. Sorry.
Certainly, the customer referrals and word of mouth are still the most effective promotion way out there. It just, if somebody tells their neighbor, their business associate, these are the best people, that's the best that you can do. And really, we live in a time when now social media, search, and reviews have become, that's the modern equivalent of a word of mouth review. So you've got to, however you can get a word of mouth review through social media, search, or review, that makes a lot of sense to do that. So I've got a business that's 110 years old in one county. You'd think everybody in the world knows us, but we have a recent new client that's a fairly large client. And in our walkthrough before we started, I said, well, how did you find us? And I'm thinking, well, they would have gotten a referral from somebody. They Googled us. And then what? Well, so you just Googled us and then decided to call us? Well, no, we looked on your social media postings to see if you're a real business. And then they had us go out there. So we have 110 years, the last 20 years, been working hard to build our brand, working really hard. And, this happened 6 months ago. They Googled us. And so the Google proofing your business is a good idea, but just realize what we're trying to do is get a word of mouth review from somebody, and however that happens, and that can happen on social, that can happen, and all the things that Wayne, you just mentioned. Let's move on.
Thank you. Good points. And all right, so we do have enough time to get to one more question, and then we'll go to the questions from the audience. But this one is a big one, and actually, one of the questions from the audience is about finding talent. Shortage of qualified workers. But let's dive right into this one. I'm going to start with you, Wayne, on this one. I mean, in our State of the Industry report, for example, exit strategy planning jumped from 8% to 19% nearly in terms of what locksmiths are focusing on. So, Wayne, this is a big one. You could spend a whole webcast on this, but I'll go to you first on this one.
Absolutely. You have to know what you want from this business. There's so many people out there that haven't even done a business plan. When we were at the Aloha convention, Mr. Mark Dawson and I held an after-hour seminar on business building and expansion and marketing and all the things that we're talking about here. And when we went around the room and asked people how many people had an actual written business plan out, a big fat goose egg came up. Absolutely nobody had a written business plan. And I think that is a huge detriment to yourself, your business, and the industry as a whole. If you can't sit down and write out one page about what your goals are, about what your business goals are, what your personal financial goals are, and the other things that need to come into play with that and where you're going. If you don't know where you're going and you don't have a map, you're not going to get there. That's all there is to it. So I'd really like people to structure where they want to go with their business so that they can tackle inflation and cost of living, so that they can tackle how they want to hire an employee. Why would an employee want to work for somebody if they don't have any direction as to where that company and business is going? versus somebody who says, we're going to go out there. We're going to bring in 7 figures this year. I want to add a truck and 2 technicians to my shop this year. We have a plan. We have these customers that we have to service. We have more work than we have people to do it. And skilled labor is the new gold mine. Okay. You could go out there and you can be an attorney. You can be all these different things. I'm making attorney rates on an hourly rate right now through my business. I'm making $500 an hour installing a continuous hinge, installing access control. $500 an hour. That is insane for the average worker person who has natural skilled labor versus somebody who has a college degree. I'm making more than most people who have a degree, a college degree, on their wall doing what I'm doing as skilled labor. And all I have to do is bring in more talent, teach them what I do, wash, rinse, and repeat the cycle, and make sure they feel part of a group. Make sure they feel like they're part of something that they're building. Make sure you're doing profit sharing to entice those people to come over. And Chad actually has a really, really great way of bringing people on where he has an application right on his website, which I never even thought of doing until I talked with him about a year ago on this. And I'm going to go ahead and pass it on over. But Chad has some really, really great ideas as far as getting more employees to want to work for you. You have to build a business that people want to work in and is attractive to them. Because gone are the days of, hey, we're going to pay you $20 an hour and go get in the van and go make money. People want more fulfillment than that from their employer these days. They want profit sharing, they want salary, they want security, they want it all. And if they can't get it from you, they're going to go start their own business and supplement their own income.
Yeah, boy, that's so impactful. Really great stuff, Wayne. I think that the concept of you can't win the derby with a donkey is really that's going to be the gold mine, as you mentioned. And so we're going to have to become, as an industry, faster and better at training. All of our organizations are going to have to be faster, better training organizations, so we can bring people up to speed. I mean, I'm heading over to Phoenix to look at their technical training, and Chad's done that. But the ability to do that quickly, because there are people who have said, we've been trying to do this for 10 or 20 years, bring what you do for us. We've been trying to bring it in-house, and we're not going to do that. So a national company just recently said, after 20 years of trying, we're just going to admit we're no good at this. Can you guys take over the installation part of our system integration? And so I think that's what we've got to do as a company, and it's going to require getting good people. And Chad is the king of telling us about that.
Well, I appreciate that. Hopefully, I can live up to it. Okay, so here's my proposition for you. You are an individual that is outside of our industry, and I would propose to you that you want to be a part of the locksmith industry. So, how do you do that? Well, I'm going to pay you bare minimum wage. You get to ride in a truck with me for the next, I don't know, maybe 8, 12 months, maybe 16 months. It depends on how smart you are and how fast you pick it up. And maybe when you get to that point, you might be able to get the luxury of driving your own van and being able to learn and be frustrated in the field by yourself, just like I did for the past 15 years. Would you like to come work for me? Right? And then we say, man, it's hard to find really good people for our industry. I just spoke with a guy yesterday that is part of a larger conglomeration, and they said they had, in the last 12 months, 56 new hiring recruits in the locksmith and security industry. Okay, so 56 new people that they were able to bring into their organization through recruiting. Now, if you hear that, and then you also say there is a challenge with finding people and recruiting people into your business, then we need to kind of shift our perspective here. I believe wholeheartedly every human wants to know, what is my plan for success? And Wayne just said this, and I think that I would agree partially, and then there would be a part to disagree. If you can't give them a path, then they'll leave and go probably start their own business. That's possible, but not everybody is entrepreneurial. A lot of people are looking for stability, a consistent paycheck, decent benefits, and a place that they enjoy working. Yet we can't figure out how to provide that. It is a pretty simple task. And we can always lean on, and have for the past 10 years, it's hard to find good people. We have to figure out how to shift our mindset over to how do we make our businesses appealing for people to come work? What is our training? How do we really focus on a good training program that we can give people those tools in a faster amount of time? It does not appeal to anybody to sit and ride for 12 to 16 months to 18 months to hopefully potentially learn. What is a clearer path? What are the faster way that we can get them to train? How do we make that more effectively? What is their career path? What are the different markers that they can earn, and what are the benefits associated with it? If I do this, what's in it for me? If we continue to take that philosophy, then we are structured for growth there. And then, just talking on finding that next generation, it's really opening up the opportunity for what it can be. If their career path or end result is just to be a locksmith for the rest of their life, then you're going to start missing out on some possibility for really high level individuals that maybe just want to get in and learn and grow with your company. So the faster that you figure that out and create a path to where you're not the ceiling of the organization and you're not stopping people from growing past you, then you have a way for people to come on board and be excited about growing with you instead of the alternative. On the exit strategy side, the one last thing that I'll kind of line in there is really figuring out are you selling to an employee? Are you transferring ownership to a family member? Or are you trying to grow a company so that it can be sold to private equity or to an investor group? And I would say if you're looking down that path for private equity or an investor, they are not looking at companies typically less than $5 million in annual revenue. So if you're less than that and you have a hopes that somebody's going to come in and offer you $4 million for your business, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but we may need to restructure that theory and that growth mindset. But really, it comes back to how do you make that business appealing, where people want to join, want to work with you, and they have excitement around the vision that you laid out for the next 3, 5, 7 years for growth or for stability inside of your organization.
That's a really great stuff. Thank you, Chad. And actually, looking in the questions, there's quite a few about hiring and labor shortage. But I'm going to go to this one first because it's an interesting one. This person asked, "What's the best formal training course for those starting in the business and have an apprenticeship lined up?" Sorry, but need some formal education first. So I guess kind of helping with that training side, like you were talking about, Glenn. Anyone want to jump on that one first?
Yeah, I've got some good stuff on that. I recently just, in one of the instructors, I'm an ACE certified instructor, a LOA certified instructor. There is a fundamentals class that we just taught. They teach it 5 times a year. One's at the main convention, and then the other 4 times is in Dallas. That is a great week of getting somebody started. If you want to take somebody and you want to compress months and years into a handful of days and basically just let these guys drink from the fire hose and let them absorb as much as they possibly can to where they can at least come back and be able to cut a key by code, be able to look up a key in the ILCO catalog, be able to identify different key blanks, and to be able to identify the different types of keys, residential, pin tumbler, dish tumbler, automotive, things like that. That's going to be a great resource for people. It's a wonderful investment. Again, you're compressing decades of knowledge down into a couple days. Asa Abloy also offers an academy, which is a great week or 10-day long course. Guy T. Robinson teaches that as well. So there are tons of really, really good avenues to getting started. I would hesitate to tell people to go online and try and learn something like that through an online course. It's really something that you need to learn with hands-on. And if you don't have an instructor right there to tell you, hey, your shim is bent, or you're using the wrong key blank, or you just bricked your cylinder, you're not going to have as effective learning strategy as when you have top tier level instructors right there to be able to grab a hold of you, grab a hold of what you're doing, show you exactly what's happening, show you what you did right, show you what you did wrong, and then continue the proper way of learning than trying to do it on your own.
Yeah, that's great. Chad, did you want to throw anything else there?
I think those are all great resources. The other thing, so I'm going to look at the smaller than that and the larger than that. On smaller side, maybe I don't have the ability to send somebody off. I've got to figure out how to train them in house. Maybe up to my second, third hire. I would look at it the hindsight, right? If we were to go back 15 years from a training perspective, I would go through and list out the top 15 things that I would want this new hire to know within the first 30 days. And then I would go ahead and make my list of the next 15 things that I would want them to know in the next 30 days. And that would be my review process. And I would hand that to them on day one and say, these are the things that we are going to work on. And you might have to narrow it down to less than 10. Don't get stuck on the number, but a specific amount of task that they should be able to perform on their own within a set amount of days. And then I would review that with them on a regular basis, but task them with the responsibility of owning that list and learning it. I'm going to teach you. You're going to come to me, and I want any time that we run across these things, we're going to work through it together. And that gives a specific plan. The osmosis theory doesn't work anymore. You'll see it when you see it doesn't work anymore. So having a plan, and it doesn't take that much time to do it. If you go to Chat GPT and say, what are the top 15 things that a locksmith needs to know? It will tell you the list in 5 seconds, and you don't even have to think about it. So it's an easy way to navigate that. But that's where I would start on the smaller side. Larger side, because you're that middle ground where you can resource those manufacturers and wholesalers. They all are offering training on a regular basis. You just have to be watching for it. The next is, how do you figure out in your shop or your warehouse how you build your own training environment? A modular door that you can replace the elements for the lock installation and the door closer installation so that you can rinse and repeat on that opening is a massive, wonderful investment that you will get so much return on. And then you can train in your shop on a regular basis, make mistakes there, not in the field. And then you can have that more consolidated instructional time. And then obviously from there, you can hire multiple people at a time, train them at a more rapid pace.
Much like talking to customers, great analogy, Chad. We tend to talk at a 9 or a 10. The customers are at a 1. Trainees, we do exactly the same thing. The first weekend, 90% of the words we use, they're not going to know what they are. We have a language and we don't realize it, just like lawyers and doctors have a language that they use. And when the doctor talks in doctor language to you, it goes over your head. We need to hire really sharp people. We need to hire thoroughbreds who can figure a lot of stuff out, but we also need to talk at their level. If we're talking here and they're listening here, we put those two closer together so they can absorb it. And if I go back, I have a file cabinet that has 250 lessons. It's an apprenticeship course, 250 lessons. That's crazy. So Dad said figure out the 15 things that are important and do that. So each time we've redone our training, it's gotten down. Now we have 20 things that you need to know before you're working by yourself. And so that's the number. And it can take 2 months or it can take 2 years, but you've got to have these 20 things, then we can move on. And that's, so simplify, leverage manufacturers, distributors every chance you get. And if they want to have a higher level training, there's no better way to do that than to work for a company that's bigger than you. I learned most of the technical chops I have working for a company that worked in Las Vegas and Reno, and all we did was high-end casino stuff. Work for somebody bigger than you is the fastest, easiest way you can learn. And doing it by yourself, difficult, but just some ideas.
All right. Well, this has been a great webcast, gentlemen. And as I mentioned, we're going to hopefully get this group back together again later this year to do kind of even a deeper dive into the business of locksmithing, because obviously these gentlemen know what they're talking about. So everyone, thank you for tuning in. Thank you, gentlemen. Again, thanks to our sponsors. And, we look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you, everyone.
Adios. Thanks.